Auditor General's Department, the Ministry of Finance, the Customs team as well. Thank you for being here. I'll start by asking the Auditor General to introduce her team.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and good morning, everyone. I'll ask my team members to raise their hands to be recognized as I call their name. I have with me members of the audit team that conducted the audit of UHWI. Today we have Christopher Hare, Deputy Auditor General, Ricardo Hall, Principal Auditor, Rochelle Bailey-Thomas, Acting Principal Auditor, Jennifer Hutchinson, Senior Auditor, Junior Thomas, Director, and Alicia Bowen, Director. Thank you.
Thank you. From the Parliament, our legal department is represented by Ms. Tiffany Stewart and Ms. Ashley Zimmermees. Could I invite the acting CEO of Customs, Mr. Benjamin, to introduce yourself and the other members of your team who are here. Just press the button. Yeah.
Good morning. Kurt Benjamin, acting CEO of Jamaica Customs Agency, and with me this morning is Mrs. Claudine Garcia Rattray. She is our Director for Post-Clearance Audit, and Mr. Perry Kent, he is the Post-Clearance Audit Manager.
Thank you. Ms. Blake.
Morning, Chairman, colleagues, and members. With me on my right is Jovel Barrett, the Chief Public Procurement Policy Officer, and on my left is Barrington Thomas, who is the Principal Director for Accounting and Financial Management Policy.
Thank you. Mr. Pierce, Mr. Green, could you introduce the team from the Ministry and the University Hospital?
Good morning, Chairman. Good morning, all. Members, Madam Auditor General and her team. With me this morning from the Ministry, and I'll ask the Acting CEO to introduce those from University Hospital, but we have Mr. Donovan Davis, is the Principal Finance Officer in the Ministry of Health and Wellness, Commander Dr. Paul Wright, Chief Technical Director, Ms. Michelle Davis, Director of Management Accounts, Ms. Brenda Lynn Bennett, Audit Manager, Ms. Michelle Walker, Chief Internal Auditor, and to gain some experience at the PAC, we have the matron or the Director of Nursing Services for the Kingston Public Hospital, Matron Walker Nicholson, Joan Walker Nicholson, and with her sister Nadine McFarlane Stewart. We also have Mr. Howard Lynch, the Chief Technical Director for Policy at the Ministry.
Good morning, Chair. Good morning, everyone. With me this morning, my name is Eric Hosin, the Acting CEO for the University Hospital of the West Indies, and with me I have Mr. Kimani Bryson, our Legal Officer, Mr. Ainsworth Buckridge, Senior Director Procurement, Dwight McLeish, our Internal Auditor, Angela Curtis Cox, our Strategic Planning Senior Director. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Members, we received a number of documents there which were sent electronically. Some of them have been printed for you. I'll just indicate what has been sent. There's a clarification from Williams Pragmatic Services, the consulting firm that was engaged by the University Hospital. There's a declaration from the Auditor General's Department. There's a response and supporting documents from the University Hospital in relation to questions that were raised at our last meeting. So these were all circulated prior via email, and some of them are with you in hard copy. The minutes of the meeting held on April 14th, they're extensive minutes. They were previously circulated. Could I ask, are there any corrections or omissions to the minutes? Not going to go page by page. Member Cuthbert Finn, would you move a motion for confirmation? Okay, seconded by Member Christopher Brown. At our last meeting, members, we invited 3 persons to be here. The former chairman of the University Hospital, Mr. Wayne Chai Chung, who responded and indicated his willingness to come before the committee. However, he's traveling and would not be available for this meeting, but said he would be available for May 12th. The current CEO, Mr. Mitchell, had sent a message through the chairman of the board that he would not be attending on the advice of his lawyer. We asked for that advice to be provided to the committee, and we have received nothing at this point in time. The former CEO, Mr. Allen, had also indicated that he would come and appear before the committee, but he's not present. Now, I find particularly related to Mr. Mitchell his absence and the absence of any formal documentation indicating why he's not here, to be contemptuous of the PAC and the Houses of Parliament, given the very serious issues that have been raised in the Auditor General report, and given that he is the Chief Executive Officer of the hospital. I have consulted with the legal department of the Parliament in terms of how we proceed when someone who is invited does not appear. And I'm referring to the Senate and Houses of Representatives Powers and Privileges Act. And I'm going to read from Section 5. And I'm quoting, either House or any standing committee may, subject to the provisions of Section 9 and Section 12, order any person to attend before such House or before such committee and to give evidence or to produce any paper, book, record, or document in the possession or under the control of such person. That is Section 5. And it goes on, but that's the specific. And then I'm going to read Section 18 of the said Act. Any person who disobeys any order made by either House or committee or joint committee for attendance or for production of papers, books, documents, or records, unless such attendance or production be excused as herein provided, or refuses to be examined before or to answer any lawful and relevant question put by either House or committee or joint committee, unless such refusal be excused as herein therefore provided, or offers to, hold on, let me make sure I'm reading this. Yes. Or offers to any member, okay, shall be guilty of an offense on summary, this is Section 18 going on, shall be guilty of an offense and shall be on summary conviction before a resident magistrate be liable to a fine not exceeding $200 and in default to imprisonment with or without hard labor for any term not exceeding 12 months. Clearly that's an area that needs to be updated. But particularly for the CEO who is still in the employ of the University Hospital, who is still receiving a salary and has not only not come but not provided any explanation, I'm asking the committee for us to move to proceed under Section 5, which would require the passing a motion here, which the legal team would then refer to the clerk of the House, and the clerk would issue an order for that person to do so. I'm going to invite, we have both Ms. Stewart and Ms. Zimenez, to either one of you to just explain the particular provisions.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you, members of the committee. Pleasant morning to everyone. As adequately stated by the chairman this morning, the Senate and House of Representatives Powers and Privileges Act provides the authority for a standing committee to issue an order for a person to attend and to give evidence. Now, Section 6 of the said legislation provides that any order to attend to give evidence or to produce documents before either House or committee or to a joint committee shall be notified to the person required attending or to produce documents by a summons under the hand of the clerk issued by the direction of the appropriate authority. With that said, once it is, and having regard also to our standing orders, in particular, Standing Order 78-2, if the committee desires to summon any witness, the chairman shall supply the name, residence, and occupation of every such witness to the clerk of the parliament at least 7 days before his evidence is required. The clerk shall then, subject to the directions of the speaker, summon every such witness on behalf of the House. Reading both pieces of legislation in context, once it is that there is a determination by the committee that a summons should be issued, the chairman would notify the clerk to the Houses of Parliament of this intention. The clerk will then notify the speaker. The speaker will issue the approval, and once that approval is given, it will be sent to the Legislative Council's department for the summons to be prepared. Once prepared, the summons will be issued by a constable either here from the Houses of Parliament or from an officer, for example, the marshal.
Thank you very much, Ms. Zimenez. Members, so I'm asking for the support of the committee for the summons to be issued in relation to the CEO and the former CEO who had also confirmed that he would be attending. I just find it disrespectful to a committee of the parliament to not only not come, but to provide no reason in writing why you are unable to come, given the gravity of the issues that have been raised in this audit. So I'm asking for the support of the committee in this regard. Members?
Yes, I definitely support it, Mr. Chairman. I think you will need, because we went through a similar experience at the PAAC, I think you need to give a particular date and place. In other words, I don't think it's just an open summons. The committee would have to agree on a particular date and place, obviously being the garden house.
I would say
and time.
I would say
to be issued.
I would say next week, May 5th. 1 week. No, we need more time.
No,
okay.
I would suggest you give about 3 weeks.
3 weeks notice? Okay, all right.
Just out of an abundance of caution. I know there, as I understand it, and having been here 6 terms now, there are situations where persons summoned or to give information can claim that they have a right against self-incrimination. Right. That usually only arises in the case where some police investigation or prosecutorial investigation has arisen. But even so, they would then come and claim they should appear and then claim that right, or they are advised that they can't answer that question because it could be self-incriminating. But to just not appear and ignore the request and then the summons, I think would be contemptuous, as you said, and would require some action. But we really need to update that fine.
Right.
We really need to also in our report to the Parliament to make sure that we make that fine meaningful.
Again, I mean, my position, if his lawyer has a reason for him not attending, then that should be provided to the committee so that we can determine how to proceed. But to not have anything provided to us at all, particularly for the current CEO, is still in the employ of the university and the state and still earning a salary. That I just find inexcusable. And the Parliament actually followed up and made requests, having gotten the notice from the chairman, for that to be provided. And up to now, nothing has been provided.
The point I was making, though, that I don't think it's sufficient for a lawyer to just send a letter and say that my client will not be appearing on my advice. I don't think that is acceptable. I think the person must appear, and if they can take advice from their lawyer as to specific questions that
they may not wish to answer.
Yes.
Right. Okay. Sorry. Ms. Stewart?
Thank you, Chair. Good morning, members. Just to add further clarity, the legislation in Section 6 goes a little bit clearer in terms of the content of the summons. It cannot be open-ended. So it goes on to say, all summons issued under Section 6.1 shall, in compliance with Section 6.2, state the time and place where the person summoned is required to attend, and the particular documents which the person is required to produce. So for the purposes of the committee, are there specific documents that are required to be produced?
The main thing here is attendance, because the documents, we have a report from the Auditor General. Members have had over 2 meetings, questions which the current team are unable to answer, and the committee felt it was important for the CEO, who has been at the hospital for a very long period of time, to assist the committee in getting answers to some of those questions. So it's not so much documents, it's attendance and answers to questions that the committee may have.
Very well. So it just should state the time and the place in regards to the content.
Okay, so your recommendation, we are at April 28th. Safely, you would want to say give 4 weeks to just administratively to deal with everything. So could we look at the following week, just to be safe? Yeah. No, the following week, just to... When did he say he's coming? The next week? No, the following week, yes, the 26th. Oh, you'll be back on the 12th. I would propose the 26th, which is 4 weeks, to give enough time for the administrative process to be executed, and for us to... Sorry? Yeah. So so the specific... Okay, I'm just checking the availability of that date. As we know, there are a number of committees that also meet.
Sorry, Chair.
Yes, Member Brown.
Yes. Thanks. I heard, and she's Mrs. Jimenez, she outlined a process as it relates to the summons and I don't know if it's an approval process. Is there in that process you mentioned the speaker, is it subject to the approval of the speaker, or it's just a process that it must go through? Okay.
All right, we're waiting, but I just want an indication from members that we would be supportive of moving to the summon-in of the former CEO, the current CEO, and I would say also the former CEO, to appear. The provisional date we're looking at is the 26th of May, which is 4 weeks from today, to allow that process enough time to happen. The committee clerk is just checking on the availability at that date. And once we have the availability, we will move to confirm that process moving forward. All right, I don't want to, we have limited time, so once the clerk comes back, I'll ask for the formal support of the committee on that. But while we wait, there are a number of matters which arose from the last meeting, and I will start, Mr. Hosing. You provided for us a detailed listing of the outstanding statutory obligations of the university. Education tax, 3.5 billion, NHT, 1.4 billion, NIS, 1.6 billion, and PAYE, 11 billion, for a total of about 17.5 billion, and then you have the penalties and the interest. Now, I had asked you at the last meeting, all right, sorry, just coming back to that. The 26th is not available, so the following week would be the 2nd of June. So I'm asking the committee for the committee's approval for us to move forward to the summoning of the current and the former CEOs to be here on June 2nd. Do I have support? 10 a.m. at William Gordon House at 85 Duke Street. Those in favor? Any against? Okay, the ayes have it. 81. Sorry, 81. See, we got to the wrong place. 81 Duke Street. Not 85. I thought it was 85. Sorry, let me go back. So, Mr. Hosing, you provided the details of the breakdown of the outstanding taxes that are owed by the university. At the last meeting, I had asked you specifically about the NIS and the NHT, which would impact both current and former employees of the hospital. And you had said to me that there was no issue in any of those persons accessing benefits. So is it that even with the outstanding amount, there is an arrangement with both of these entities to ensure that employees do not suffer the consequences of their deductions not being paid over?
That is correct, Mr. Chair, in terms of us making good for any employee that retires or in a position that needs a benefit to access the benefit.
Okay, what is
And we are currently current with those payments. So from last year, January, until now, we have been every month paying those benefits.
All right, can I ask, what is the current arrangement with TAJ? I know last time you had a temporary TCC. Are there discussions that have been furthered to either work out a plan, look at a write-off of some of the outstanding obligations? Have there been discussions between the Ministry of Health as the parent ministry with the Ministry of Finance in terms of how you're going to treat with this?
Discussions are ongoing, Chairman, but we have not reached any point as yet.
Okay. Can you say whether there was a previous write-off of any of the outstanding amounts owed to TAJ in the last 10 years or so?
Yes, Mr. Chair. There was an amount written off, I think, in 2020.
Do you know how much that was? And did that
2018.
How much was that? Did that represent principal or was that penalty and interest?
I can get that information and provide to you, Mr. Chair, the exact figure and what it represents.
Okay. Our members, any questions on this particular issue related to the outstanding tax obligations? All right.
Can I just share some
Sure.
updates, Mr. Chair, on some other
Yes,
points?
you can go through the other updates.
Oh, okay. In terms of...
Sorry, 1 second. Member Bunton?
Yeah, I'm looking at the document that was shared, that's tabled today, information requested by the Public Accounts Committee meeting, that's the heading. And it has a section that deals with the TCC, and it says that the TCC was valid up to January 19th, 2015. I thought we had heard at the last meeting that there was a TCC up to January this year.
Okay. So,
Yeah,
member,
through you, Mr. Chair.
through you, Chair. Let me just clarify. What happened is that the question was asked when was the last time we had a TCC, and when was it valid too? So it was then. We have a temporary TCC which ends on May the 6th. So we have had one now for 1 month, which ends on May the 6th. And the question was also asked, how long have you been using the University Hospital of the West Indies private wing, which made known to many as Tony Thwaites wing? And we don't have the exact date for that as stated. However, it would have been after that, the one you mentioned, expired, that we have been using it until now.
So
it was about 10 years.
Right, because your last one would have been up to January 19, 11 years ago.
That's
Yes.
the last.
So, in essence, you have either been operating on temporary TCCs or you've been using the private wings TCC to do your business.
Until about end of January this year, when we were using the Ministry of Health to assist us in importing items. But on April the 6th, we got a temporary one for 1 month, and we are making arrangements to try and get another temporary one for another month, a rolling monthly.
So it
Mr.
rolls
Chairman,
over every month?
essentially he's saying
That's
that
what we're
for
applying.
11 years there was no
TCC.
TCC
That is
for UA.
that
So
is
they
correct.
had to be facilitated either by the private wing or by the Ministry of Health.
That is correct, member.
Okay. Thank you for that clarification, because it wasn't clear last week. I didn't understand that such a extended period of time had been had passed since you had a regular TCC.
Okay, so Mr. Chair,
Yes,
just
if
to
you can
provide
go
some
through the
clarification,
updates. Yeah.
the location of the missing files. We have now located 8 more missing files. One was found just yesterday. We did inform the Auditor General about 7, and we have an additional one. The total of these 8 contracts is 65 million.
Where were those files found? Just out of interest to me.
In the storage area, in the procurement area, in filing rooms.
So we hadn't looked in that area before?
There was a search in that area, and we asked for them to continue and to look even further, and they have been able to locate these 8 files.
So that brings us up to how many now? Out of the 51?
I'm going to come to that, Mr. Chair. We also reconstructed, as I shared last week, Mr. Chair, that we're going to reconstruct some files. We're able to only reconstruct 4 files valued at $35 million. We also identified, Mr. Chair, that there were 6 files that the contracts were cancelled, 6 of them, and those amounted to $109,146,000. We will be inviting the Auditor General's Department to come in and look at those documents.
So you're saying
documents.
6 of the 51 missing files, the contracts were cancelled and nothing was done?
That is correct.
Okay.
And
well, that would require the Auditor General verifying that information.
And we have various reasons as to why, based on documentation and so, in terms of the cancellation, which we will provide to the Auditor General, and I'm sure you'll get that report also, Chair. We also have identified, in terms of files we cannot locate and we are unable to reconstruct, about 5 files for $54 million. We're just not able to find any documentation that would provide us with information to to reconstruct a procurement file. So we have the information from finance, but in terms of having enough to produce a procurement file, we just don't have that.
Can I ask you, what are the access controls to the area in which these files are secured? Meaning, is it that any employee can go there? Do they have to have particular privileges? Is there a passcode thing that you need to press to know that John Brown can't go in but Mary Jane can? How is that area secured?
Okay, I'll ask the Senior Director, Mr. Ainsworth Buckridge, just to explain what the situation is.
Good morning, Chairman. The files are currently stored in an area that has a door, and it is locked with a key currently.
Who has access to that key?
That key is housed by the procurement administrator.
Okay, and who can go into that room is what I want to find out.
Currently, the key would have to be accessed from the procurement administrator to go in that room.
Yeah, just speak more into the mic so the
Yes.
Hansard can capture it.
Yes, so that key would have to be requested from the procurement administrator for them to go into the room.
And has that always been the case in terms of access to that particular location, in terms of the security of the location?
Not to my knowledge.
Not to your knowledge?
Yes.
Meaning it was, all right, can you
So
expand on that?
I was not in the area for a year, so I can't speak to that here.
Okay, but when you were there, what were the controls that existed?
Key is kept by the procurement administrator.
And anyone who would
Needs to go in there would get the key from.
would have to get from
Yes.
that procurement director?
Yes, administrator. Yes,
Administrator.
Sir. Yes, sir.
Okay.
Mr. Chair, there's a slight deviation back to what you had asked about the write-off. The write-off, the letter dated September 14, 2020, which came from the financial secretary at the time, states that the total write-off was 5,224,000.
5 billion.
5
5
billion.
billion.
5
Okay.
billion, 224 million. And it included the returns, the outstanding penalties, and outstanding interest.
So you would have gotten a write-off in 2020 of 5 billion, including some principal amount, some penalties, some interest.
Yes, correct,
Okay.
Chair.
P.S., this is for you. It requires the intervention of the ministry in dialogue with the financial secretary to resolve this.
Yeah.
I mean, I think the hospital clearly doesn't have the resources on its own to pay these outstanding obligations. And the fact that the interest and penalties are running, in fact, exceed the principal amount, means that we're going to continue to build up this figure. And by next year, we're going to have a larger figure. So I'm going to ask you, PS, to ensure that those discussions are initiated and that when at a future meeting, you can report to us on what the plan is to try and resolve these issues.
Okay, just back to the files, Mr. Chair. So at this point, we have now identified 46 of the 51 files with a total of $58 million.
All right. What I would ask the Auditor General's team to do is just to verify the information being provided by the hospital, and for you to be able to indicate to us that you have sight of those 46 files now, because we started off, I think, with 22 of the 51, and to report back to the committee. I know you're very stretched in terms of your resources, but it's important that the information be verified by your department.
Is it just a verification process?
Well, no. It is to start with verification,
that's where I'm going,
and then you have to do an analysis of what is in the files. But at least to start with verification.
Yeah, because if Chair, remember, the audit was a subset that was taken of the contracts, and they asked for 51, which is a subset to undertake the audit. So I would want to understand clearly, apart from verifying, because it's we started out with 28. The CEO now says they have found some more. Some have been cancelled, amounting to 109. So it's a drip, and we're going through. So I just want to understand clearly from the Auditor General what would be the process going forward now that the CEO has indicated that additional files which you would have wanted to have reviewed as part of your audit now have been found, and then some will never be found because there are now 7 that are reportedly cancelled.
Five.
Reportedly cancelled, and then there's 5 that will never be found as of now.
6 that have been cancelled.
6 that have been cancelled.
6 cancelled, and 5 that we are unable.
You're unable to find anything.
Yeah. So I just want to understand what would be the next steps from the Auditor General in terms of those that now have been found and then those that are reportedly cancelled.
Madam Auditor General.
Thank you, Member. Mr. Chairman.
Just pull the mic a little closer to you.
Yes. I don't know that I can tell you the exact step that we're going to take because the chairman has said a lot and we need to analyze it. But once the Auditor General reviews a file and speak on it, I have to speak from a point of confidence and I need to be satisfied. It's not sufficient for me to say that the files exist because I will validate something without having done the necessary due diligence. Mr. Chairman, I understand your desire to have some level of comfort and better particulars around this matter. But I really have to emphasize that I just do not have the manpower right now. We have other audits that we're seeking to complete, and it's actually this audit team that is involved, and it will have a ripple effect. I am asking for time to complete the audits that we are currently undertaking and to return to the UHWI once the resources allow and to do a proper review. I am not satisfied with just looking at a file to see that it exists. I would rather to do to have a more thorough audit done where I can have confidence about bona fideness and as well as accuracy.
Okay, thank you. I know you're not able to do so now, but if you could provide us at another meeting with even an approximation of a time frame, given the other obligations and the fact that your team is currently engaged doing other audits.
Thanks, Mr. Chairman. I can draw your attention to the overview of the UHWI report, where I indicated that UHWI report is really part of a larger audit looking at the public health, and Cornwall Regional Health Authority is one. That audit has already been impacted because of the near-time audit of the Hurricane Melissa initiative that we're doing that is really consuming a lot of our resources. And it is necessary for us to wrap those audits up to move on, which is why I'm asking for time to allow the team to complete the review of the Hurricane Melissa initiative, which is quite time-consuming, as well as the Cornwall Regional Hospital.
Okay, thank you, ma'am. There were some members, I reckon that you had your mic on, but you turned it off. But since Member Miller, then Member Seabright. But turn on yours, no? Not turn on. Yeah.
Thank you, Chair. I would like to find out if the assessments by Jamaica Customs, if that has been completed or the status.
Well, I was going to come to that. I just wanted to close out on this issue, then we're going to come to the customs issue.
Very well.
But keep your mic on now. Why keep turning it?
So I was just saying, in light of the Auditor General's remarks about resources, it might even be better that we complete our hearings on this report, because more information might come out that, rather than asking her to go and the Auditor General's team to go and verify some specific files at the end of our hearing, which will be at least another month, there may be a whole series of things
that you may need
that the department may need to review. So it will be better, I think, to just allow this first round to be complete, and then it will be more efficient, and hopefully by that time some of the other audits will be complete.
All right, Member Seabright.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chairman. Just to the acting CEO, and I'll await, of course, the Auditor General's report back later on, maybe this year. You're a private sector man, very well established. So are you of the view then that this is just a breakdown in document control and storage, which was compounded by the flooding and the manual systems that you have, rather than some sort of intentional concealment? And also, where we know, as a established private sector person with a lot of experience in major institutions in this country, where you know with the digitization, the accountability mechanisms now to ensure that this doesn't happen again? I mean, that's really what we need to focus on.
Oh, to you, Chair, just to say that there are serious challenges in several areas of the hospital that we are trying to address with respect to the digitization. That is a process that we are now wanting to look at the whole procurement thing in a holistic way. So we are going to tender. We have now developed a terms of reference to go to tender to have someone do a very comprehensive, or an entity organization, because it will go to tender, to do a comprehensive review of the entire hospital and the procurement process. That will include doing good in terms of the digitization and other projects necessary to really solve many of the challenges that we have.
All right, continue.
Yeah, thanks, Mr. Chair. So, Chair, from the last meeting, there was some concern about the collection of funds at the car park by our security guards. Just want you to know, Mr. Chair, that that has been discontinued. It was discontinued the day after our last sitting, and the funds are being collected by our trained UHWI cashiers as we speak.
Well, can you tell me what is the verification process? I mean, it's good that the security guard is no longer collecting it, but I also want to know that you have a system in place that whoever is collecting the money, you can verify that you're collecting 100% of what you should be collecting. Okay, so we are not at the, we are working towards having a automated system which would be able to do that 100%. However, at this time, what we have is a system where the guard will issue a ticket at the entry to the person with the time and so, and we're getting a timestamp machine there, and then they pay at any of the cashiers at the hospital, because we have several cashiers stations, and then when they are exiting, they will show that receipt along with a thing to the guard at the exit. Okay. The exclusion sign that the member was very concerned about, one of the members, it was actually on the property, but not in the place where it should be. That was also erected 2 days after we met the last time. Just happy to share with you, Mr. Chair, that there have been some concern in the public about the medical annex that has been out of use for about 2 years. That work has now commenced, and we are hoping that within another 4 months the work will be completed, which will help to ease the pressure on the accident and emergency department that is really under some serious pressure as we speak. Work on the audited financials for the year 2021, Mr. Chair, is scheduled to recommence in May of this year. We have now completed the procurement process for an external audit firm to start work for the audited financial years 2021 to 2025. This was done through the normal GoJEP procurement process, and we have selected someone, and the contract is being prepared to have that done. Those are my updates, Mr. Chair. We wrote, as instructed by Parliament, we wrote to Jamaica Customs, and I will allow them to share their response to the letter I wrote to them, asking them as to when they will be able to complete the audit work. I received a response from them, but I think it's best to hear from them than from me. All right. Just one question on the consulting contract with William Pragmatic. I saw the documentation provided by one of the principals, but I noticed the contract didn't have the signature of the principal. There were it was witnessed by a number of persons, but there was actually no signature there. Is there a reason for that?
Okay, Mr. Chair. There is a signature, it's just that maybe the copy it's very faded.
Oh, okay.
It's very, very.
But
I mean,
the signature was there.
The signature was
okay.
there.
Okay.
And we did do some further checks, and we can verify that in fact the contract was, as was stated before previously, was actually done after the payment was made.
The contract was signed after the payment.
Although the date on it indicates a day before the payment, it actually was
executed after the payment
after
was
the payment,
made.
yes.
And in terms of the deliverables, what does the hospital have now in terms of a deliverable from the company?
They have submitted. Initially, they submitted a few months ago an interim plan. They have now submitted another document, a final, with some recommendations, which we will look at. They made several requests of the hospital, which we have not been able to provide them with information that we have not been able to provide them with, and they have provided and say this would be their final, as they do not intend to continue.
Because the report, the objective of this report was a turnaround plan, which is clearly desperately needed for the hospital. So this has to be something that is treated as a matter of urgency, because you are in an untenable situation with, these are taxes. I don't know whether, and in fact I would ask you if you could indicate, I know you can't do it today, what the outstanding obligations you may have to private suppliers or other contractors, because I would assume, given the obligations to TAJ, you're likely to have probably other obligations. And so it's important to understand the complete picture of the indebtedness of the hospital.
I will provide some information, but just to let you know, Mr. Chair, that we are in a much better position now in terms of our being able to access certain supplies in terms of pharmaceuticals, other things that are needed for the hospital to operate, because we have been paying our suppliers. We are up to date with many of them, and there are just a few that, well, there are some that we still owe some money, but in terms of drug supplies and so on, the hospital is in a much better place right now, because we have been able to work to ensure that they are paid up to date, the drug companies, and put the hospital in a better position. We are hoping to really be able to properly stock our pharmacy within a few weeks.
Because I must tell you, I've gotten complaints of the lack of very basic supplies at the hospital from medical professions, medical profession people who have said, doctors who have said they have had to personally buy stuff to attend to patients there.
Well, just to let you know, Mr. Chairman, we are also doing something else. In addition to trying to tighten up the whole procurement process to ensure we get value for money and we don't pay more than we really should pay, we have also, as I said, been able to find enough funds to help us to be able to find the equipment and the supplies. And we are also putting in mechanism to prevent pilferage, because we have a problem there also in terms of items missing from the various areas or even on the wards and so on. So we are working towards just trying to fix it, because it makes no sense we buy more and lose more, but that they are used for the intent to save lives and to make people better.
Okay, thank you. All right, members, I want to move on to customs. Are the questions related here or? No. All right, let me go to customs, Mr. Benjamin. And I'll start first, if you could, Mr. Hosing had indicated that he had written to you in relation to the 4 companies. You had completed an assessment of 1. So if you could give us an indication where you are at with the other 3 companies. And secondly, from my perspective, I want to understand the role customs plays in terms of dealing with the tax exempt status of the university and whether there is any verification done on your part to determine that whatever is being brought in is actually for the hospital, being used for the hospital, etc. So if you could just start there. I know there are members who have other questions for you.
Okay, so we have finished one, as you have indicated, one of the companies. The other three we have pretty much finished. We are in the process of reviewing and doing quality checks. So the auditors have finished, but the supervisors and the manager are going over the cases just to ensure that everything is in order. So in short order, the hospital will get the
You can give me a
assessment.
time frame, 3 weeks, a month, 2 weeks, how long before those other reports would be complete?
Well, the team is indicating 2 weeks. They are the one doing the work.
Okay.
And they said that 2 weeks.
Okay, all right, thank you. Yeah. So in terms of how you deal with the tax exempt status, I assume the university uses a broker or some third party to bring the stuff in. Just tell me how the process works from your part.
So the hospital has tax exemption under Section 14 of the University Hospital Act. It allows them to import items free of customs duty and GCT. There is a special ANC code, which is an additional national code, which is pretty much a free code. It's a duty-free code that is applied specifically for the hospital, and it allows them the duty-free exemptions. So the hospital will engage a broker. The broker will do up their declaration. In addition to doing up the declaration and utilizing the code, there's also a special declaration that is done by the hospital. And this special declaration is pretty much the hospital saying, we hereby declare that the items being imported are being imported exclusively for the use of the hospital in conjunction, and they name out the section of the act that it falls under. So they would say under Section 14 of the University Hospital Act. They'll sign that, and they
Sorry,
will...
when you said they, you're talking the broker here.
No. The hospital.
The hospital will sign that, okay.
Right, and so the responsible party, which is the CEO, would sign that, and they would submit it to customs along with the import declaration. And then our invoice inspectors would process the declaration. The act is very broad, so unlike other pieces of legislation that would probably say that it must only be this item or that item, it just says items being imported by the hospital. It doesn't have a finite list or anything like that. It's very broad.
So if you saw a luxury motor vehicle...
No, so motor vehicles are one of the...
I just pull an example because you said it's very broad. But
no, so it's very broad.
But you obviously have a responsibility to protect your revenue and ensure that it is not abused.
Right.
So let me ask you. So can the university hospital designate a third-party company to import items on its behalf using that same status? And how do you treat with that?
No, ought not to happen.
It what?
Ought not to happen.
It not to have happened.
No, and if it is that we see an item, no, let me put it a different way, because they can, meaning that someone can import on behalf of the university with a purchase order. So you can, for example, go to a particular company, you're getting a software, for example. You could have a contract, and the contract calls for the importation of that software. But the contract would have to speak specifically that you're buying it for the university, and the university is hiring you. It's a bit different if it is that you bid on something and it is not stated categorically that you are importing it for the university. So all players would have to have the same level playing field, if you understand what I'm saying.
No, I want you to go. I'm not totally clear because let's say company X says, I've been authorized by the university hospital to bring in these these medical supplies on their behalf.
Right.
And as such, I should be treated as the university, and there should be tax-exempt status. What is your process to verify that that is so? Turn on your mic, man. You're not turned on. Yeah. Go ahead.
Oh, so there is a purchase order. So the university hospital would have to issue them a purchase order. They would also still have to sign the declaration declaring that the goods are being imported for them on their behalf. They are also on the physical declaration. So the company can't just turn up and say, we're clearing this for you, because you has to still be the declarant. The party with financial responsibility would be in a different box, but you would still be the declarant, and they would still have to give us that special declaration, and it would still have to be signed, and they would have to issue a purchase order indicating that they are fully aware that this item is coming in for them and it is being handled for them, as opposed to somebody who has just won a regular contract just importing something. So it's a bit different.
Okay. And in the cases, well, apart from the ones that were flagged by the Auditor General, what is your process at Customs to verify that that actually takes place and that there's no abuse of that tax-exempt status?
Right, so we review the documents. So once they have the appropriate documentation, we would process the declaration. If we see something that is out of the ordinary, the manager would still raise it to the level of the director or to the collector, and they would investigate to see whether or not that item being imported is consistent with the UE, especially if it is being brought in by a third party. But once they have the requisite documentation and it's signed by the hospital, then we generally process the declaration, because that is the process.
All right, you provided to us, and I have it on my laptop here, over a 10-year period, the number of items, the value of those items. I know, I'm coming. I know. No, I'm not moving on to another point, because still the customs point. Huh? No, man, I know. No, man, I know. Absolutely. And I do in both. The question, so, no, man, I'm coming to you. You provided to us over a 10-year period the amounts and the value of those items that were brought in by the university hospital. Are you satisfied that, from your own process, that those are legitimately the university hospital's items?
Well, I can't say that I'm satisfied. We are conducting an audit, not just into the 4 companies, but we are looking broader. And so at this point in time, I can't say that we are satisfied. We would have to look, and at the end of the process of looking, then we can say whether or not we are satisfied. But can't say that at this point.
All right. Let me make Member Clark, who was waiting a long time. One of the things Member Clark, whether we stay here till 2 o'clock, you will get to ask your question. You don't have to worry about that. Go ahead.
Mr. Chairman, with all due respect, I don't want to go too far into what you are saying, but you must understand that you are there to mediate, to cheer, and to see to the smooth flow.
I do that, plus I have a right to ask questions.
Not for you to ask 10 and 20 questions and a trot.
No, man, I can't do that. I can't do that.
We understand. We're on the same page.
Because we're trying to get the answers.
We're on the same page. Through you to Customs. If a commodity, a product is shipped in Tom Jones's name, can Derek Brown just arbitrarily get up and go and clear it?
No.
Can Derek Brown get an authorization letter from John Brown to clear on his behalf, even though he's not a custom broker, just a regular person?
It depends. It depends on the value of the item. Because
it depends on the value.
Right.
So let's say a commodity in the range of anything over $9 million.
No, a letter for authorization. So we have a form called a C-73 form, which is the authorization for one person to act for another. You can fill that form out, have it duly endorsed, and lodged and pay the requisite fee at Customs, and that will enable you to legitimately act for someone else. But if the item comes in your name, it still has to be cleared in your name, meaning it has to be your TRN, but the declarant can be that person who you have authorized.
Have you ever received such form filled out by UWI, giving persons or another party the permission to clear on their behalf?
I'm not aware of that.
You're not aware of that. How do you accept checks for payment for goods? Is it that Kensal Limited can draw a check on their name and pay for goods for Polythermic Company?
We don't take personal checks unless they are guaranteed checks.
Guaranteed checks.
You have to have like a bank guarantee with Customs Force to take a personal check.
Fine, let's say all of that is in place. What I want to know, can I take my company check and pay for something that belongs to member Delano's company?
No, what I'm saying is that you can take your company's check and pay for something that belongs to you.
No, not me.
So,
Delano's.
So that's what I'm answering. I'm saying no.
No, full stop.
Right.
So, Customs would have had a situation that is before us. And I asked a question of the CEO last meeting. If they were the one who paid for the shipment that is in question. And the answer, Mr. Chairman, through you was no. But it is also provided in a document that some 10-point-something million was paid for some goods by a third party for UWI. Explain the process to us. Let us understand how you get from stage one of the check being presented to you to the final stage, which was accepted and goods turnover.
I'm not sorry for understanding your question. All right.
Let me try and make it clearer.
No, I think I understand, but I'm not understanding at the same time. So let me try and explain the process.
So let me make it clearer so that when you answer from a point of understanding. Fine. A certain commodity was imported. Mm-hmm. The tax exemption code for...
Everybody know already.
Everybody know already.
Everybody know already. Everybody know.
Mr. Chairman, can I be protected, sir?
You are asking me for protection?
What's the distinction?
You say I give you plenty rope, you know. Go on.
Jackden,
right,
would have been in question for the usage of the UWI exemption code. The product was paid for not by UWI check, but by another check provided by Jackden. Yet the goods is in the name of UWI. Explain to us, from stage one to completion, how that was done.
Well, I'm not aware that a check was used to make a payment.
But Mr. Chairman, I need a drink of water.
Well,
No, he still has more questions.
Because he never.
Mr. Benjamin.
Yes, sir.
Transfer. The reason why I say check is because I know that a bank transfer can act as a check, but cash cannot be accepted in certain amount.
Anyway, direct your question to Mr. Benjamin. No? Direct the question to Mr. Benjamin.
I want to understand, how was the goods paid for?
By bank transfer, RTGS.
And that bank transfer came from UWI?
Not to my knowledge.
Who? To your knowledge, who?
I can't say who it came from because I'm not in that department, one, and two.
Mr. Chairman, I would beg to stop Mr. Benjamin.
Well, I'm not
right
finished.
Here.
Two.
The question, no, sorry, Mr. Benjamin. The question that I had asked of the CEO then was whose check or payment, whose money was used to pay for the shipment. And he said to us, by his knowledge, that it wasn't Huey. When we asked for custom to come to us, I thought that that would be one of the pertinent questions put to them for them to come and answer today. So I beg of you, if we could get some answers as it relates to that question.
And the specific question you're asking is who made the payment on behalf of the University Hospital to Customs? Is that the question you're asking?
Yes, and I can get the answer. I just don't have the answer at the moment because it wasn't asked beforehand, because we'd have to interrogate the data.
Waiting.
Okay.
So I'll wait until the answer.
Okay, all right. Let me go to Member Miller and then Member Carencia. Just pull the mic closer to you when you're speaking.
To Customs, all four declarations received, were they signed by the CEO for exemption?
Yes, they were by different CEOs.
Are you in a position to say which ones were signed and by whom, which CEO?
One second, we're just looking on the file. The Jatden's declaration was signed by CEO Kevin Allen. We're going through to look for the others. Supreme Laundry's declaration was also signed by Mr. Allen. However, what we noted was that he demitted office in 2022, and the declaration was for the period 2023 to 2024. So he would no longer be in office when that declaration was signed. So we surmised that they had some pre-signed special declarations that were being used.
But wouldn't that raise some kind of alarm at Customs if the CEO is no longer there?
No, but so first and foremost, we'd have to recognize that we would not necessarily know that the CEO is no longer there. So you have, in many instances, when there's a change of a CEO or a signing officer, those entities will inform Customs. I didn't see anything to say that we were informed that there's a new CEO and here's a specimen signature of the new CEO.
So let me ask you, sorry, 1 second. So your conclusion then is that there would have been pre-signed declarations that may have been blank that would have been provided to a broker to bring stuff in on behalf of the University Hospital?
Well, it's a reasonable assumption given the fact that the CEO was no longer there, and this shipment came pretty much a year after he has left.
Very dangerous practice, if that's so. Go ahead, Member Miller.
I want to go back to the board of UWI to just find out if when persons are receiving the exemption status, if this comes to the board, especially if it's at a certain value, if this is placed before the board for approval or review, or it goes to, we know that the procurement was non-existent, but does it come to the board at all?
there are no records to indicate that any of those exemptions came to the board for approval.
That's it, Chair.
Member Carencio.
It's not on. Thank you, Chair. What I want to know, would this have been the first time that Jackden was granted this exemption? Was this a unique? I just want that to be clear. That's part one. Would this have been the first time?
Well, we can't say because we are conducting an audit. So when we're finished, our investigation will reveal if that is the case. But at this point in time, we can't say. What we can say is that that's all we have seen now. But we can't say if conclusively.
No, you're saying that's all you're seeing now. What is all that you're seeing now?
We're only seeing one declaration linked to them.
Yes, continue.
Right, but you asked me if this was the only time, and I'm saying
Yes.
that short of doing a wholesale investigation, we could not say conclusively that this is the only time either them or any other entity might have benefited in this way. We'd have to wait on the outcome of the full-scale audit that the team is conducting in this financial year.
So you're saying that you are not aware of this practice ever happening before?
No, we're not aware of it.
How far back will this investigation or audit go? How far back?
3 years.
3?
Yes, based on the Customs Act.
Okay. And if at all it is revealed that there were other companies that benefited in the same way, what, if any, action will be taken?
Recovery of the government funds.
Thank you very much. And how soon do you contemplate that this audit will be concluded?
It's been started this financial year, so probably in about the next month or so.
Yes.
They should be ongoing. It's a massive audit, and so we're breaking it out into, I think it's 4 teams. 4 teams to tackle this audit.
Permit me, Chair. You're saying that it could go back as far as 3 years?
Yes. No,
3?
will, not could. Will. We will do the 3 years. We are working closely with the Revenue Protection Division as well. So
meaning
they can go
that,
beyond that
3 years
yes.
for you to be able to collect revenue.
Yes.
But could you go beyond that just for information purposes to say that this has been happening for 10 or 15 years? Because that would be useful.
So we can go up to 7 years
Yes.
if we can prove fraud. So if we
Yes.
can prove collusion, then we can go up to 7 years.
Thank you.
Mr. Benjamin, to your knowledge, how many public entities have a similar type of tax-exempt status? And what is the process that Customs employs to verify that goods being brought in are actually for the benefit of those public entities?
So I couldn't give you an exact number off the top of my head. What happened is that you have some, like the hospital, the University of the West Indies, UTEC and others that do have benefits under their own particular legislation. You have others that are beneficiaries under the Charities Act. And so we do periodic audits. As you would well imagine, it's not going to be really easy. You can't audit everyone. And so we use risk management. We are actually doing a comprehensive review now to see how best we can tighten that framework. The Ministry of Finance has asked us to look and to see what kind of recommendations we can make to ensure that we don't have a repeat of this. So that review is ongoing right now.
Okay. Let me go to Member Miller-Brown, then Member Cuthbert-Wren.
I think Mr. Benjamin didn't complete his response with respect to which CEO signed the declaration. You mentioned only 2.
Right. So, 1 second.
And when?
Willman Sales was Mr. Mr. Fitzmitchell, current CEO. And Scientific and Medical Supplies Limited was also Mr. Mitchell.
And when?
1 second. I don't have the specific date for those declarations. It's 2024 though. I can say it's 2024 for the Wilman sales based on the declaration number and scientific research.
Just pull the mic closer to you when you're talking.
I'm saying that for Wilman sale, I can tell it's in 2024. I couldn't give you the specific date. And also for Wilman sale, both of them were in 2024. Couldn't give you the specific month though.
All right, well, if you could, again, come back to us just to satisfy the question the member has.
Not finished. The entries you received, the custom entries, is there a plan to audit to see in the stores at UA what is exactly there? What items are there at UA and what? Based on the entries from your customs log.
Right, so that will form part of the audit. When we go, we're going to do a verification.
How soon will that be done? And will this committee?
Right, as I indicated earlier, the audit will be done during this financial year. It should start in about a month. And as I said before, it will be done with 4 teams given the scale of the audit.
Member Corporate Friend.
Thank you, Chair. Through you, Chair, for Custom, Mr. Benjamin. Just going back to the pre-signed declaration, you mentioned, I believe, that Mr. Kevin Allen's signature was on, they were on a few documents.
Correct.
And you mentioned 2324. The question that I want to ask, and you just mentioned that another signature was on documents in 2024.
Correct.
What I'm curious to know is if there's any overlap where, for the same year, for the same period, if we could do a deep dive on that to see, because as you said, you would not know when CEO has moved on, when they leave. But I'm curious to find out if there's any collusion going on where you have in the same year, the same period, where you have pre-signed documents going through the customs for goods and there was another CEO present. That would be my question, and I would love to know if you can get the correct dates for me and for the committee to see if there's any overlap of CEO signature on any goods that was brought in and through the customs.
Okay, we're making the notes and we'll have the answers for the next.
I would love to know that. Thank you.
Can I ask, can charitable organizations, a registered charity, can they bring in items on, let's say they want to donate medical supplies to a hospital? If they bring those items in, would they be eligible to get the tax exempt status?
It depends on the charter that they are set up for. So if you're a charity to provide healthcare services or to give to the health industry, then you could. But if you are a charity for, say, a church-based charity, then no. We would say that's not in keeping with what you are established to do. So the officers actually look through to see what was the purpose of the charity when they're approving the items being imported by the charity. But if they're set up to assist the hospital or to seek medical equipment for public hospitals, they could get the benefit and they could give it duty-free to the hospitals.
Okay. Is there any way you can verify, for example, I am Charity X, I have brought in these things, I say I'm going to give it to UER Spanish Town Hospital. but then it ends up in some private facility somewhere in the country. You have any way of doing your checks and balances on that?
Well, it will be the audit. So we do periodic audits. If they come up in the audit plan, I'm not going to tell you that we're able to audit 100% of them, but we do periodic audits.
Okay.
And I mean, we have audited some charities where we have assessed some and told them that they need to pay back sums that they have benefited from. Based on when we went in and looked at their records, we said, no, this record is not consistent with the purpose and how you have distributed the item. They couldn't provide proper documentation as to how they would have disposed of the items. And so we would have assessed them for sums.
Given the issues with the signatures of former CEO who may, and I can only say may, have pre-signed a form, have you strengthened your own processes to verify that signatures coming from, whether it's from UA Hospital or other entities, are actually consistent with the authorized individual who can allow the importation of those items?
Well, to be honest, it's going to be a challenge once you see an authorized signature. We can call to the verification, but what we're really looking at is to see how best we can work with the Ministry of Finance to streamline some of these processes to ensure that there is no abuse using technology rather than manual documentation.
Ms. Blake, I don't know if you can help us from the perspective of the Ministry of Finance. And I was at the forum you were at last week where we were looking at the illicit trade and the lost revenues. I mean, this is important in terms of protecting the government's revenues. Do you know, Ms. Blake, or the officials from the Ministry of Finance, the extent of how many entities actually have tax-exempt status? And has there been any determination, review, assessment about the use of those tax-exempt statuses? Hold on. Somebody up just release a mic so I can allow Ms. Blake. Yes, go ahead.
Right. I would not be able to give you a number at this time. There, as was said by Mr. Benjamin, there are several legislations that allow for tax exemption. There are also government entities that get tax exemption, and there are also some agreements, like with a particular country, or if there's a project and you're getting funding internationally, they sometimes stipulate what kind of exemption is expected, and the Ministry of Finance looks at those agreements to assess if we are in agreement for that particular project, etc., to be granted exemptions. So it is a wide group, but I could get the information.
Yeah, I think it is important because it's a potential loophole that we could be losing millions of dollars, which are important to support all the things that the government needs to do in terms of maximizing its tax revenues. So if you could come back to us on that, and I would say that entire regime probably needs to be assessed and reviewed to ensure that it is actually being used for the purpose that it was designed for and not being abused. Okay. Because we're dealing with one entity. Customs will do its own investigation. We don't know how much we entity. We don't know how far and how wide the system may be abused. Member Miller, I had interrupted, then Bunting, then Corporate Flynn.
Mr. Benjamin, where are the containers stripped and examined? Is there any instance where the containers have been inspected by customs at a site other than UE?
Yes. It is possible. I can't say no. You have approved sites. UA is an approved site, and containers that leave from the port should go to the approved site. There might be extenuating circumstances that might necessitate going to another site, but it should be documented. But for all intents and purposes, the container should go to the site that is approved.
Under what circumstances would it not be inspected under UWI but go to another site? What circumstances?
It could be a myriad of circumstances. No, they could be bringing in an item that require some sort of assembly or some sort of software thing that have to go somewhere else beforehand. But they would come to customs. They would say, "I need this this container to be stripped at this particular location because of this reason." Because you're approved as a site, so we actually have a site committee, and you have to apply for site, and so we will approve you based on certain conditionalities such as cameras, the security apparatus, and so forth. So you're really supposed to strip at your site.
Thank you.
You have more questions?
This one is for PS. What is the role of the minister and the ministry with respect to oversight of UA then and now? Is it the same or changes have been made?
I'm not aware of any changes between then and now.
Sorry, just so that we have colleagues at the University of the West Indies who keep telling me I must make a distinction between the University of the West Indies and the University Hospital of the West Indies.
I think I don't believe it's the last occasion, but before this committee was made aware that the ministry was not aware of some of the decisions made at the board level or even by the UHWI. So you're saying there are no changes, so the circumstances remain. That's what you're saying, PS?
I'm saying I'm not aware of any changes since I gave that update.
Very well.
Member Bunting, then Member Corporate.
Yeah, two questions for Mr. Benjamin. The first is a follow-on from Ms. Miller's question. The stripping of the containers, many importers don't have an approved site, so they would have to use a third-party site to strip the containers. My understanding is the stripping process is really customs confirming that what is on the declaration is actually the goods in the container.
That's correct.
But once that is confirmed, that's, in a sense, the end of customs rule, because those goods can then be transported anywhere thereafter.
You're correct.
Okay. The second question has to do with what I think you said you surmised that the declarations were signed in blank ahead of time.
Special declaration were pre-signed. We surmised.
You surmised. Assuming that you are correct, would that, well, at a minimum, I mean, it would mean an entire collapse of the controls in U.S. procurement system. But would that not be fraud if somebody who is no longer in a post or no longer authorized, their signature is used to clear or to make a declaration as part of the clearing process for a shipment?
Well, given that I'm not a police officer, and I know that this matter has been investigated by other eminently qualified, like MOCA, the Revenue Protection, and so forth, I would leave it for them to determine if it is fraud. But we just point out the facts as we see them, that this seemed to have been signed in the absence of the CEO being in the position at the time when the goods were imported.
Okay, I thought customs had a enforcement unit or a investigative unit.
We do, and as I said, I would not conclude fraud. So we are working as we speak with the Revenue Protection Division, and so other works continue. But I couldn't come here and say that we have concluded that it is fraud.
Okay, let me ask you then. Is this a practice at UE for CEOs to sign blank declarations to facilitate importations like this?
I have not done any, and I cannot say if the previous CEOs did the signing of blank declarations.
Anybody from procurement who is here from UE, who have been around for a while, can say if they are aware of this such a practice?
No.
But it certainly wouldn't have been authorized by the board.
No. Well, as I shared before, the use of this tax exemption status, all the records indicate that these things were not brought to the board for any approval or for their knowledge.
Okay, thank you.
Member Corporate Win.
Thank you, Chair. Just to go back, I also wanted to find out the shipment for Jack then. What year was that? And was that the signature? You mentioned Mr. Allen's signature. So I'd want to know what year that was. Also, with all that has happened and come before us and the nation, I wanted to find out from Customs, what do you have in place now? Because as you said, you're not aware, and it's not really for you to know when a CEO leaves. It's really for whichever company to send that directive to you, to provide that information to you to say, how are you going to, or how do you plan to go forward to cover yourself with this now being in the public domain, as far as, making sure that there are no pre-signed documents at the customs, and also to verify, to make checks, to make sure that whatever is coming from UHWA or any other company for that matter, who has tax exemption, to make sure that it is the CEO who is now in place, that's the approved person. I want to know, just to go forward, as to what do you now have in place at Customs, and again, the year that Jacqueline's shipment was cleared with Mr. Allen's signature on that.
The year was 2024. In relation to
and
that,
Mr. Allen left when?
2022.
So Mr. Allen left in 2022. However, and you're talking 2 years. So that is why it's important for me now to find out that overlapping.
Right.
It is very important for the nation to find out. Because did UA make any other purchase during those years with another signature on? That is concerning. Very concerning to me, and it should be concerning to the nation. Because if you're talking about 2022 and, 2024 with other signatures there, I mean, this is very serious. And so if I would want to know, what do you have in place now at the customs? Because we need to protect our board. We need to make sure that that is protected.
Right. So in regards to UA, we are well aware as to whose signature to look for now. But beyond that, we are conducting a review because we want to move from the almost manual basis in which it is done, and to look at a more electronic system similar to what occurs with, for example, when you apply for a concession as a government worker and it comes through a system. So we want it to be more system-based, where when the hospital is sending something, it's actually coming through a system and it's being written off. That way, in terms of even for asset management and so forth, the Ministry of Health can know exactly that the hospital is buying these items. They can have a real-time listing of what is being cleared through customs, and so will the Ministry of Finance as well. So the recommendation that we are going to be making is that we're going to be looking to move towards an electronic interface, because we do have a SCUDA system which allow for electronic interface. We use it now for our licensing and permit regimes. We already use it with the Ministry of Health for various permits. and along with the Trade Board and other entities. And so we think that this is where we need to go.
Right. I am aware of that Asecuta system. So again, so you will have a more robust system in place to make sure that this doesn't happen.
Correct.
For you, Mr. Acting CEO, you have a very, they're eminent people on the board, and I know that persons. What will be in place for future, or what's happening now? Because I know that not everything may come to the attention of the board, but what will be in place to make sure that these things, when it comes to pre-signed, to make your checks and balances to balance out, to make sure nothing is going on in other places that persons are doing things behind the board's back. What are you putting in place to ensure that this doesn't happen again?
Okay, thank to you, Mr. Chair. The board, Mr. Patrick Hilton is the chair, and with the approval of the board, we are setting up a procurement oversight systems within the board to look at various things, including that, and they are supposed to be putting together the terms of reference, in order to have a greater oversight by the board of the whole procurement procedure, the whole procurement of items on an ongoing basis.
Okay, thank you, Chair.
Just a question. Is the tax-exempt status allowed where a government entity, ministry, agency, or department is the importer, but it is procuring those items through the award of a contract to a private entity?
Yes, I think it will depend on the circumstance. So you could have an instance where you have one entity that is procuring for the government, and based on the nature of the tender might say, we need somebody to import this item for the ministry. And so it's different it's different against you selling an item. So if you're selling the item and you're importing it in your name to sell it to the government, then you ought not to be using the incentives of the government. But if it is that the government has recruited you to get an item on its behalf, it's a bit different. So it all depends on the circumstances. Because what you don't really want is a situation whereby you put out a tender, one person bids, and they bid with the intention that I intend to use the tax-free status. The other person bid with the intention that I know I have to pay the requisite duties, and so therefore the bids are out. And then at the end of the day, one person take advantage of the fact that they don't pay the taxes, but still charge the government the same amount as somebody else who would have paid the tax, or just a little bit below, and the government end up being the net loser.
Okay, thank you. Member Clark, and then Member Seawright.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Through you to Customs. This shipment, Jack, did it came in without a permit?
One second, I'm just checking to see if there's any item on it that requires a permit, because not all shipments require permits. Based on the scan of looking at it, we're not seeing where a permit was required for any of the items.
Okay then, thanks.
Member Seawright.
Yes, thank you, Chairman. To the Acting Director of Customs, just a quick question for the public's knowledge, because I've been getting some WhatsApps. Of course, the USWA has stated that the practice has been discontinued, and corrective measures are in place. So that's good. But can you clarify to the committee the full scope of your audit, specifically, what are you going to focus on? Is it just customs duty recovery, breaches of import procedures, misuse of tax exemptions, privileges, etc.? Or is it just broader institutional compliance issues? What's the focus of that?
No, well, we wouldn't be focusing on the institutional compliance level because that would be more for their internal audit, and the Auditor General has already done that and continue to do that. We will be focusing on revenue recovery to see whether or not there has been any misuse of the benefits that have been accorded. The Auditor General did highlight 4, and so we have moved to deal with those 4 at the front end. And we are going to be doing work to see if there is more beyond the 4 and to see how best we recover the revenue. We would have assessed for the first one, for Jatden. We would have sent the assessment to the UE. We would have also indicated to them that there will be a breach because there is a breach of the Customs Act because there has been a false declaration. And so we will move in that regard to recover what has been lost from the government of Jamaica.
And just for the interest of the public, how long will this audit process go for?
The broader audit?
Yeah.
The broader audit should be wrapped up within the financial year. As I indicated earlier, it will start within a month, and we have 4 teams that are dedicated to it.
So it will wrap up maybe before the end of March next year?
Yes.
Okay. And then another one for you. And you touched on it a little bit. Given the issues uncovered, would you say this matter highlights a broader vulnerability across public bodies regarding the use of tax exemptions and so on?
It highlights the potential, and so it indicates that we have to move to a more electronic platform, a safer platform, a platform that we can monitor more effectively, one where the approval and the authorization is being done by the persons who have the requisite credentials. So, for example, if this were a secure platform, the current CEO of UE would be the one who would go online and would enter and give the approval. And so there would be no argument as to, you're using a signature for somebody who was no longer there because that person would no longer have access to that system. So that's why we want to move to an electronic platform.
And would that include like automated TCC verification, stuff like that?
Yes, well, we already have that. So the Ascuda system does automatic TCC verification. It reads from the TRN to ensure that whoever is using the system is so authorized, and it also has a table to ensure that the person who is using the benefit has already been approved for that benefit. So I can't just go on and try and access a benefit that is for UE or a bauxite company, for example.
Okay, thank you.
Member Miller?
I noticed that you're strengthening your procurement oversight at UE Hospital. Just curious whether or not you had requested any drawdown for Melissa with respect to Melissa relief funds, and if at all this went to the board, and how much?
There are no records showing me that any such requests were made.
So you're saying that no request was made to the board to assist with
cannot
Melissa?
confirm at this time, but I don't have any records of a request from the board for that.
Mr. Chairman, it's interesting that the CEO would say that, as I was made aware that there was a request sometime in November for Melissa relief funds, Mr. Chair. So I'll allow the CEO to probably do his checks. Again, that brings to light the oversight of UHWI.
Well, I think the CEO it would have predated his incumbency at the time, but if you can do the research and come back to us on that.
I will do that, Mr. Chair.
And if you could also get the figure
of how much was spent?
How much was spent and who did that audit to see what damage UHWI received to warrant the request and whether or not the board approved that request.
There was an assessment of the damage, but in terms of the request, we are not aware of a request being sent to the board. But we will confirm.
Do you know how much the assessment was? And who did the assessment?
I'll get that figure. By the way, Mr. Chair, you will see from even our response with respect to the flooding, that the one that took place under Melissa, that was actually, the repairs was actually done by a maintenance contract that we have with a third party. It was done because while the impact was severe, the work was actually a minor work. It was like the felt had lifted and the person was able to put whatever under it and seal it back. So it wasn't a major work, but it had a serious, very serious impact on the storage.
Just to clarify, you said it was it was severe damage. But
it created, the impact was severe, but the work itself to deal with it was a minor repair.
That would amount to about 1 billion?
No.
Okay. Just verifying.
We gave it in the response. It was under, so there was someone contracted to do preventative and maintenance work on the property, and it fell under that. And that was like approximately, for all of that, each month, like $1 million, just over $1 million.
Would that have gone to the board?
Oh, no.
Just to procurement?
Not for those small amounts. In fact, it didn't really go to procurement because the person repaired it under the normal monthly maintenance and repair work. As I said, while yes, the flooding was serious, the actual repair was really a minor repair.
Any more questions, Member Miller? All right, Member Bunting?
I'll come back. I'll come back in a minute.
You'll come back? Okay.
Mr. Benjamin, much earlier you had mentioned that there was a special code for imports made for UE, for University Hospital. And I want to ask you, I know the Asicuda system has been in place for some years now, and so all your import records should be digitized and real time, essentially. Is there a way for the public to get the customs import information? So if, say, I wanted to look at a particular tariff code, medical equipment, for example, or livestock feed or cooking oil, is there a way that the public can access those? I'm not talking importer-specific data. I'm talking just the broad categories of imports on the respective tariff codes. Is there a way for the public to access that?
Statin. So we do a data dump to Statin because they generally provide that as a service.
So if I wanted to find that specific information, Customs provides a data warehousing at Statin, and
Correct.
I would have to go to Statin and pay Statin to get this particular information.
Yeah, I think they charge a fee, but yes, Statin is the one that provides to the public.
And how current is this?
Well, we do a data dump, and it's supposed to be very real time.
So like each month you would do something.
Yes.
So if I wanted to say January to March, imports of medical equipment, or medical equipment more specifically for UE, I should be able to get that
Well,
from
I
Statin.
don't think you'll be able to see for specific importers.
But you'd see the category.
But you can see the category.
And I only asked for UE because you said there was a special code
for
that, UE.
That special code is an ANC code. So it's an internal code that is utilized for custom purposes. You have them specific, like to the health sector. There are different H codes, H1, H2, up to H, I think up to H25. For manufacturers, they have like R1, R2, up to about R35. And so they utilize them, and each one of them indicate the specific benefit that the particular importer can get.
Okay, so that's for unique to the importers.
Right. Right. So if you wanted to know, for example, how many shoes were imported, then you would go to Statin. They would look for shoes, because they can look for the item, or if you have the HS code, which is the harmonized system code, the tariff code, you could tell them a specific tariff code, and then they would be able to tell you that you could actually get the tariff codes from our website, because we do have that listed on our website or on our customs app.
So why you don't just have the information on your website? Why I don't understand why you have to send it to Statin, and then the public would have to go to Statin. Why not just get it directly from the source?
Well, I guess it's something that we could discuss with our parent ministry, but Statin is the nation's agency for statistics and data in that regard.
And publishes it years behind when it's not really very useful. You are collecting the data real time.
Right.
That's what's useful for planners, for private sector people, etc. So why I do understand this bureaucratic approach. You have it digitally available. You have website. You're already publishing the codes. I don't see why you can't publish the import volumes at CIF values or whatever. Or so that would be very useful information to both private and public sector planners.
We understand, because I know Asikuda can give you the data very quickly. You would have seen how quickly we were able to give you the 10 years of data that you requested for UA. Because we do have it, it's digitized. It's just a matter of data mining it. So we can data mine to specific things. We can data mine to commodities. We can data mine to commodities from specific regions, from specific importers, from specific industries. The system is really a very, very, very good system.
It is, and I am impressed with the capacity of the system. I'm just saying, if it has that capacity, why not make it available to the country? I mean, it will be very useful information for all types of planning, not just government planners, private sector, people doing market assessments.
Remember, customs, we are civil servants. We serve, and we serve according to rules that are laid out for us.
Just a quick question. Are you on the audits that you're about to start? Are you collaborating with TAJ in the particular exercise?
Well,
you're doing a number of things, and not just the specific three companies.
Right. So we work with TAJ on various audits. We do have an MOU with them. We have not sat down to speak specifically about this, but we do work with them especially when we're doing large and complex cases. Okay.
Member Seaver.
Well, as a follow-on then to the chairman's question, before this Auditor General audit of the UHWI, had this or similar cases involving third parties benefiting from a public institution's tax-exempt status ever been flagged by customs as a matter of concern? I'm just curious.
Not to my knowledge, but I mean, we've had misuse whereby the beneficiary would have brought in items that we felt upon audit was contrary to what the intent of the legislation was, to give them that benefit, and we would have assessed them and recovered sums.
Okay, thank you.
Member Miller?
I know the Auditor General is doing a separate Melissa audit, but I'm going to read a document for the persons at UHWI and ask you if you're aware. And this is related to procurement for I will soon. Damages related repairs and replacement costs, Hurricane Melissa. Hurricane Melissa caused widespread infrastructural damage across UHWI clinical, administrative and support facilities. The storm compromised structural safety, interrupted operations, and rendered overall critical areas non-functional. Immediate repairs and replacement are required to restore full service delivery and ensure patient and staff safety. The total estimated cost of repairs and replacement is $913.8 million. Was this presented to the board? Are you aware of this document?
I have no record to say it came to the board, but I will investigate and let you know.
Please do, because I was made aware that this document was a document sent to the board and acknowledged. He will do the relevant investigation.
What's the point of order, member? Yeah. Member Miller, if you reference in a document, you have to indicate the source of it.
It is a document prepared and presented to the board, Mr. Chair, November 2025.
All right, I think we should allow the acting CEO to
do his
research and come back to us and indicate whether he's aware of that or not.
My mics of thanks. The member made statement from a ghost document. Can the member say which document, so that if she's asking the CEO to go in search, he knows exactly what he's going there to search for?
It was a document submitted to the board November 2025.
Is there a title to the document?
I'm not aware as it's a document presented, and I'm sure that it would be in the board document. I'm sorry. It's a document presented to the board November 2025.
Mr. Chairman, I observe the member reading from a script on a telephone. It means that whosoever sent it to her or the research that she would have done would have stated a title. Clearly, Mr. Chairman, something is not right. Tell us, let us know exactly where you get it from. It's not only the CEO who wants to do research. I would like to research a document just the same.
Mr. Chairman, the CEO is the representative here.
No, Mr.
The
Chairman.
acting CEO is the representative here, and he has taken the responsibility to do the research. To do the research, Mr. Chair. He has taken the responsibility to do the research.
The member has raised an issue of some information which has come to her attention. She has asked, that has come to her attention.
Mr. Chairman, you know better, you know.
She has raised an issue with information which has come to her attention, and she has asked the CEO, who has committed to doing the research, and come back to us and confirm.
So what the CEO is going to look for?
Whether what has been said is so or not.
What is it that he's going to look for?
Right. Okay. I don't know that we can go further with the matter. The acting CEO said he'll do his research and come back and report whether it is so or not. If it is not, so it's not. If it is, it is.
No,
right?
Mr. Chairman. Mr.
What?
Chairman, you're not leading.
Just permit me. The standing orders does not provide for a member to read from a statement and present it to the Parliament. Standing orders does not provide for that. So we have to follow the rules.
She has raised, Member Frank, she raised a question of some information that was brought to her attention.
No, it can't come under the standing orders. You can't. It does not provide for that. The standing orders does not read it. It does not provide for that.
The issue that was raised related to some post-Melissa. Hold on. The issue that was raised related to some post-Melissa expenditure, as I understand it. The member has asked some questions, right, based on information that may have come to her. This acting CEO has committed to, he's not aware of it. He said he'll do his research and come back to us. I mean, no. But we can't go further with it.
So we should not accept it.
Accept what?
We have to be guided
But
by
she
the
has
standing order.
asked questions related to, she has asked, board, that's what she has asked.
No, you are saying it the correct way.
Mr. Chair,
Yes.
if I may. Mr. Can we just quiet down a bit?
Better than that.
I see something. I'm not sure. 1 second.
Yeah.
I'm not sure if this is the document that the member is inquiring about. I see it here on page 3, post Melissa repairs to UHWI. The committee requested details on the amount spent on the repairs. The answers provided in table below. The contractor engaged. The answers provided in the table below. And so on. Ward 4 repair, roof repair. Who the contractor was, if it was direct contracting or what that was. I'm not sure if this is what she's speaking of. Is this what you're speaking of, member?
In addition to that.
In
It's
addition
the
to
submission
this.
this was raised here, but I am requesting specifically to the document.
Which
November
document?
2025.
No. You have to be very specific now, because questions were asked in the last meeting about post-Melissa repairs to UHWI, and those answers were given to the committee in regards to the post-Melissa hurricane damage that we ask in this committee. No, I'm not speaking to you, I'm not speaking to you. I'm speaking to her to respond.
Why are you trying to stifle the member?
I'm speaking to her to respond.
Yes,
Speak to the
yes,
chair.
yes,
Chairman,
yes.
what I'm asking,
Yes.
she mentioned that it is in addition to.
Yes.
I'm now asking, in addition to these questions, I'm asking now the member to tell us what is the question that she's asking in regards to the document.
What I
From
heard her ask
2020.
is if there was a submission to the
Right.
board for expenditures amounting to $900 million post the hurricane.
Yes.
And the CEO has...
Okay, so that is in addition
Yes,
to
and the
this.
CEO
And
has said he will
touches on
do
So there's
his
no contention,
research.
I just wanted to find out exactly the question
Yes, and the
that she's
CEO has,
asking.
acting CEO has said he doesn't know, but he will do his research and come back to us. So we'll wait on the update on that. All right, thank you. Members, are there any other questions? Yes, Member Clark.
Through you to customs. I am reading from an interview with the Sunday Observer, the director of Jacqueline. In it, he said he told the Sunday Observer that it had been incorrectly reported that the UE imported the dialysis machine for Jacqueline. According to Gordon, the machine had already arrived in the island when the company was then informed that it needed an import permit from the Ministry of Health, which could not be processed in the time that was available to Jacqueline. Through you to Mr. Benjamin, are you aware of the situation that the machine came in without the necessary permit?
No, I'm not aware of that.
Can you do your research?
I will do my research.
Thanks.
But sorry, that's what I do. Even if it is that an item came in without a permit, if it is in the hospital name or individual name, it's still a breach. It's still a breach. Yeah, it's still a breach. We'll do our research.
Our members, are there any other questions? I think there's a 12:30 committee meeting here. We'll have to wrap up.
I want to get the answer, Mr. Chairman, because then there are going to be follow-up questions to the situation of a breach. So we'll wait until that
Yeah, he
comes.
said he would do his research and come back to us. Okay, all right. If you want to write them down and submit them, I will accept that. Members, any other questions? Could I? Oh, the 12:30 is canceled, but we don't need to stay. All right, can I have a motion for the adjournment? Thank you very much. Thank you, the public servants who are here. Sorry, the date of our next meeting would be May 12th. Okay? Thank you.
Give yourself a fighting chance. Wear an approved helmet. A message from the Road Safety Unit in the Ministry of Transport and Mining.
What's the state of education in the digital age? Find the answers in the new season of Piccadilly Talks, Wednesdays at 6:30 p.m., right here on PBCJ.
Yo, babes, why me I call you so much time and I not get you? Sorry, me lick you again yesterday. Yo, me know me mess up, but I can't wear them something there road and I expect me to react. I know me jealous and fool and easy to lose my temper, but call me back here. Still not get tired. Hey, girl, think me have to call your phone?